on the beat.
What's up, fight fans? It's your boy Nick, back again from NickPortellaMMA.com. Today, I'll be talking with professional boxer gone rogue to bare knuckle boxing, Britton Hart. Britton, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Nick. Thanks for asking. Thank you so much for having taking the time out to talk to me about this exciting main event coming up.
Yeah, I just, for the people that, you know, they hear the interviews and stuff and don't go behind the scenes, we've literally tried to do this interview. We've had to deal with cell phones and storms and flooding, but just in time for fight week, we're getting it done. So that's a good thing. So, with all that being said, congratulations on the upcoming bare knuckle boxing fight, and you're headlining the card. How awesome is that to not only be on the card, but to headline for your debut?
Thank you. Yeah, I honestly cannot put into words how honored and truly just excited I am, because it's a female bout that is headlining on this, you know, a huge, historical event. It's the second bare knuckle fighting championship that, you know, has been around the last 130 years. So just to be on it is incredible, but to be headlining as a, you know, a female is just, I think it's just history is waiting to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's ever been a female headlining, so technically it is history all over again, you know, so
exactly.
that's kind of cool. So now I know you're a professional boxer, so how did you actually find out and get involved with bare knuckle boxing? Because it sounds kind of crazy to the outside person.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just one of those things that, just everything set up. The timing couldn't be more perfect on it. You know, I've been really trying to dedicate and perfect boxing, and they reached out to me. Basically, you know, in my boxing career and boxing personality, I'm an aggressive, tough fighter, and people like that. People like people to show up to a fight, and, you know, that's ultimately what the people want. So that kind of got my name out there that way. Well, they reached out to me and asked me for, you know, about it, and I said, I had some things going on. June 2nd, I was already fighting in New Jersey, so I said I would keep it in my back pocket and think about it. And really, from that moment on, even though I had initially kind of pushed it aside, it got the wheels turning in my head. I started looking up, and I already started kind of implementing little tactics to get there. So when they came and talked to me again, it just felt, it felt right. Like, it felt like this is it, Britton. Like, this is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the timing you've been waiting for. Everything felt perfect. So.
Plus, it's a good thing because the guys over there, Dave and Ed, and they don't book just anyone. They turn tons of people away. They want to make sure that it's all high-level fighters. You know, they're not interested in having, you know, guys or girls in there to just get beat up. So I really got to commend them on how they're running everything. They do a great job, and for you, that's got to be a huge pat on the back because they reached out to you. So obviously, what you've done so far in your career kind of put you on their radar, and hence that's why they reached out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of, at first that's why that is actually one of the only reasons why I did shy away from it in the beginning, because I was like, look, I'm not going in there like I'm here to be a winner. Like, I'm not here for money. I'm not here for, any other reason than I'm following my dream in my heart. Like, so as far as, doing it for the right reasons, and basically, someone gave me a really great inspirational speech that, hey, Britton, records, look at one of your favorite boxers or favorite wrestlers. Like, do you really remember their record, or do you remember what kind of fighter they were and who they were when they were in the ring or, in the cage or whatever, so to speak? That's what people are attracted to and want. So it made me, it really told me that my heart was in the right place and where I was supposed to be. And like I said, as far as, me being in it, I'm in it to win it and make sure that I make a statement and I don't have any excuses and everything's left out in the ring on exactly where I want to be.
That's great. Well, and that's how it should be. So now I know this falls under the blanket of combat sports, but this isn't really like any other combat sport. It's not for everybody. There's boxers that, you know, would never bare knuckle box, and there's bare knuckle boxers who don't do as well with gloves on. So again, the sport's not for everybody. What clicked? I mean, because I'm trying to think if it were me. What clicked and you were like, you know what? This is a great idea to take these gloves off and let's just throw down. What clicked that made it, I mean, even logical, I guess, in your mind that this is a great idea?
Yeah, Nick, that's a great question. A lot of people ask that question. And to be honest with you, I think it kind of goes back to me as a person, and a lot of people that have been in similar situations where, you know, the struggle's real. You know, we grew up, you know, in tough times, and some of those times involved getting nitty gritty. And I've had my fair share of, you know, street fights and fighting bare knuckles. So I had that experience growing up, and unfortunately that was something that I had to experience. So when it comes to the question of getting rid of the gloves, it's kind of like, okay, well, I mean,
I've done this before.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I remember that one time, like, you know, you start reminiscing and thinking about all these, you know, crazy situations that happened in your youth. And, you know, I made it out just fine then. So what makes it different now that I'm more trained and disciplined? So that part didn't actually really worry me. It's boxing and it's without the gloves. I think, you know, I've said this before, I think damage is damage. Whether you're getting elbowed, kneed, or punched in the face with a bare fist, I mean, you just don't want to take unnecessary damage, but it all hurts the same in the long run.
So now the real important question before we get into everything else, since you're headlining, since you have the currently queen of bare knuckle boxing that's going to be standing in front of you in a week, regardless of the outcome, you're going to build a fan base. Can the people who follow you expect to see you again, no matter what happens on Saturday?
Oh yeah, no matter what happens, I'm confident. I put the time in. I've been training. I can't sit there and say, man, I didn't have enough notice. I cannot tell you that. I cannot tell my fans that. I cannot say, oh man, I had this get in the way, or I had this injury, or I had, you know, whatever excuse people want to come up with. I don't have those excuses. I train every day. I've worked really hard for this. So I know, regardless, that everyone's going to know and see who I am, regardless of the outcome. I know that I'm going to put the best fighter out there. And it's, you know, it's never failed me before. Like I said, I give everything 100% of my heart, and it's never failed. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be there to stay. I don't choose anything to do it halfway, so to speak. So regardless, I mean, history's going to be made, and regardless, they're going to be able to follow me, and they'll be happy, and I'm going to make sure that they're proud to follow me, that I represent something bigger than just me going in there, but that I'm facing, you know, odds against me and everything. I'm going to still stand in there and show how you face your fears, and more so how you beat them and overcome them.
Yeah. Now, and you don't, because we've talked in the past, and you just never come across as an excuse type of person. You're just there to do what you do, and that's kind of it. Now, there's this question could go on for days and days and days, but I would just like your input. Now, I've been a huge advocate for bare knuckle boxing, all aspects of it. I just yesterday I talked to the owner of the Bare Knuckle Boxing Hall of Fame, and it took an hour, the whole conversation. Yeah, the interview took an hour, and we got into the history of it, and you know, when they introduce gloves and how safe it is. And now I have argued and have written articles about bare knuckle boxing, I believe, is overall safer than glove boxing or mixed martial arts with the smaller gloves. And we could talk about it for days, but I don't want to keep you that long for during fight week. But what is your take on that? Now, I understand it looks worse on the surface when you don't have gloves on, but at the end of the day, in the long run, I feel that it's a safer sport. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, you could argue both sides of it, absolutely, but I am definitely in agreement with you. I think that bare knuckle and no gloves, you have to, be more cautious and you gotta pick your battles, so to speak. You gotta pick your punches. You gotta pick your shots a lot more strategically and smarter. So gloves kind of let you go in there and hit more and harder because your hands are protected. You have some sort of protection on it. So
Right.
this time, you can't go in just swinging because that could be detrimental to yourself. So I do agree with that. I think that, people that think it's a little bit more barbaric, I think that would be kind of a, not a very factual statement because I am a huge sports enthusiast and I actually have my degree in sport management, and that was one of the first organized sports that was brought to America when the colonists come here is they did organized bare knuckle bouts. So, I'm definitely up on the history, and I remember, reading about how those type of sports was kind of what brought people to common grounds and brought people together and expanded into more traditional sports that we watch today. So I think it's kind of going back to history, which I love, and, going back to where we started at, and it's a true and pure form of combat sports. I think you can't get any more natural and pure than that, so honored to represent that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the first, I know when they were setting up for their first event, there was people on the fence and the media, half were on board, which I was one of those, and the other half were against it. But lo and behold, the event happened, and it's a huge success. What do you think brought those initial fans in, and what do you think will keep them coming back? I have a theory on it. And my theory is whether someone would like to admit it or not, you don't go to NASCAR races to watch the race, you go to watch the accidents. I think people are, I'll admit it, I like watching the fights. If you're a fight fan, that's what you're there for. You're there to see knockouts and people get all bloodied up. Do you feel like that's a safe assumption that whether someone wants to admit it or not, that's why they're watching?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I actually had this conversation before, too. You don't wish, for the drivers, like in NASCAR, that's a perfect analogy.
Right.
You don't want them to get hurt, but, yeah, face the facts. If there's no wrecks or aggressive drivers that are bumping up on the wall, it's just not. People want the knockout. People don't want it to go all, people don't want them to, kind of stay back. They want the action, and I think bare knuckle boxing is definitely that. You have to, because again, it's back to being right in front of an opponent with no protection. You have to kind of go in there and know that some damage is going to occur.
Hey, you get a mouth guard. There you go. That's
yeah,
good. You get to keep all your teeth at least.
that's true. That's true.
So now,
you don't want a tooth and a fist too. That would suck.
yeah, and everybody gets hurt. So now, I know you're well versed in boxing. This is not a shocker, but now I know you have your training camps for boxing. Did you make any adjustments in particular for the lack of gloves? And I know there's tons of techniques out there to strengthen your knuckles to build durability. Now, I don't want you to tell me what you changed in training per se or what techniques you used. I'm just curious to know if you implemented any of that stuff or did you just kind of stick with a regular boxing training camp? I don't want your secrets. I just want to know if you changed anything.
Yeah, great. Perfect, because I wasn't going to reveal them anyway.
Perfect. Yeah, you're not supposed to.
No, yeah, boxing is my foundation, and then bare knuckle techniques are basically the walls going up around this house. So I did put all the techniques. If it's a technique out there for it, trust me, I've already practiced it to see if I like it, if I don't like it, what my thoughts are on it. So definitely different. Every day is kind of learning anew, like, hey, what about this? And then trying it, implementing, seeing if it's a tool we want to use or a tool we don't want to use. So.
All right, and we'll leave it at that. I don't want any more because that would be, it's like unfair if somebody hears it. So now, again, we already know that you're the first female, one of two females to ever headline a bare knuckle boxing event. I also know that before the event, Bec Rawlings will actually be receiving the Police Gazette Diamond belt, which is coming. It's actually in transit as we speak from the Bare Knuckle Boxing Hall of Fame, and it is absolutely amazing to see. But now, the more amazing part is she's defending that belt against you. She's just getting it, and defense is on the way. I mean, I know you've done a ton in boxing, but kind of where does this rank in your list of accomplishments? It couldn't be any bigger.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
you have no idea. When I heard, I think someone was telling me they were trying to keep it a surprise, and it was funny because I already knew about it. But I mean, basically, my first initial reaction was like, wow, I already knew I was getting the crown. I didn't know I was going to get a belt too. So that was my first, just my funny statement on what I thought about it. But I mean, if it didn't take it up a notch, I would be lying to you if I said it doesn't change anything. It changed a lot. I mean, it
Sure,
did.
it does.
It changes a lot for me. It's a dream. It's a dream come true. I mean, it is absolutely, everything in my head, my heart, my body, soul is just focused on that. And what an accomplishment it would be. Oh my gosh, it could be, like I said, for females, for women, for combat sports, for just sport enthusiasts to go in there and win that and have that is just going to be, the highlight of, just the highlight of my career and my very beginning of my future. Like I said, it's just open.
Have you seen the belt? Do you know what the belt looks like?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I follow it.
Okay. All right. I'm just asking. You never know. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get into the fight. Obviously, UFC bad girl, Rowdy Bec Rawlings came over. She's a known striker. She definitely showcased it in her first fight against Alma Garcia. Obviously, you've probably also done your homework on your opponent. Now, with the exception of her one fight, did you get a chance to go back and watch any of her UFC fights? Because it's kind of hard to pick up on her strictly only boxing because she only had that one fight, as to where a lot of her footage, and there's tons of it, from the UFC. Have you been able to sit down with your team and kind of really look at just the striking aspects of what she's done so far?
Yeah, absolutely. We've done that. And like you said, it's a little bit different going to UFC, but I think that's a good thing because I feel like, you kind of see that things that she kind of works at, like her record, her 7 wins, only one of them was a knockout. The other ones were submissions or decisions. So I think that says a lot in watching those fights on how she won and then watching the fights on how she lost. So definitely have done that. And, I think that's definitely been in my favor, knowing those things and having access to that.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought was kind of interesting, if you actually look through the whole lineup, with the exception of only a few, you are one of the few that is not coming from a mixed martial arts realm. There was, former UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, Cage Warrior fighters. You're one of the ones that is coming from strictly a boxing training background. Now, I'm not saying that, Bec's boxing isn't great because she has great striking, but do you feel like there's an advantage there somewhat because you have only trained boxing as to where she had to train a bunch of stuff? She was great at Muay Thai. She was great at striking. She was great at Jiu-Jitsu. She had great wrestling, but it all takes time to be great at that, as to where your focus, your whole career has been boxing. Do you find that to be kind of an advantage? Maybe just the skill-wise.
Yeah, I do. I think that just, we talk about muscle memory a lot. I think that my mind is, trained and my body's trained to pick up and recognize boxing techniques. And then ultimately, this is bare knuckle boxing. So I don't think that I'll have to worry about, where she'll be like, oh, well, here's the perfect place where I would do a takedown or do here. I don't have to, none of that is going to taint my mind. So I think being a pure, in boxing, I hate to say it, Bobby Gunn when he went against Roy Jones Jr., when you go and take a boxer and put him against, bare knuckle fighter or an MMA person, I think that they always usually have the upper hand as far as just what they're trained and their skills and what to look for.
Right, but the nice thing is I've watched tape on both because, I don't know, that's what we're supposed to do, And I actually think you guys match up extremely well style-wise. So I expect, I'm thinking fight of the night, I just, from what I look at and stuff. Another interesting thing, that I recently found out, courtesy of you actually, you formerly had the nickname of the Queen, and she currently has the nickname of the Queen of bare knuckle boxing. So, that's kind of little stuff. But in the back of your mind, does it ever click like, hey, I'm going to take this nickname 100%. It's going to be just mine. I'm not sharing it with anybody.
Oh, yeah. I said ultimately there can only be one Queen Bee. There's no way around it. There's only one Queen Bee, and I feel like I had that nickname first, and I want it back, and I don't want to share. So I'm there to prove that.
So it does not play well with others. I get it. Okay, that's fine. And actually, before I let you go, I would like to give you a minute to thank your sponsors or train anybody you want. Open mic time. You can name 1 million people. Just give you a chance to thank all the people on your way to this fight that made it possible.
Yeah, well, first, I definitely want to thank you for taking the time to interview me and show this interest and definitely, being excited about it. I do believe it will be fight of the night for sure. But I want to thank, there's so many people I want to thank. I want to thank my main sponsor, Hunter Thomas LLC Carpentry. He believed in me from day one and has definitely been tremendous in supporting me financially and mentally into this fight. I have, Noe Quintella and Dee Venable who are traveling with me. I have Marcus Luck and Justin Gunner that's helped me from Lux Boxing Gym, Champs Boxing Gym. I've had so many people just dedicate time to reach out and help and give me their input on situation. I definitely want to thank my 2 children, Peyton and Paris. They support me and are behind me, and they're mainly my reason why I want to show that you can, achieve anything you set out and that to follow your heart and that you can reach your dreams. So they're my main inspiration and everything. Thank you to everybody else. Like, again, if you've reached out to me or just believing in me, it gives me strength and gives me courage. And I thank each and every one, no matter how small or how big it was or how far they are away. Thank you.
All right. And as for me, I have to thank you. I know we had it was hard to get this kind of nailed down, and it's kind of awesome that I know it's fight week and this is supposed to be your, final week. So the half hour means a lot, that you donated to not just me, anybody in media. So I could speak for all of us and say we appreciate it. I have to thank, Dave Feldman, Ed Simpson, Bobby Gunn. Without these guys, none of this, we wouldn't be talking about it. We wouldn't have anything to talk about. As for keeping up with things, you could follow Britton on Facebook. That's her biggest platform, at Britton Hart. For me, you could follow me at Nick Portella MMA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. I try to keep it the same. And, Britton, I wish you all the best of luck. And Saturday night we will see if you are the sole owner of the Queen Bee nickname.
That's right. You got it. Thank you again so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.